The Chicago Bears were down 10 points to the New York Giants with 4 minutes to go in the game and somehow managed to come away with a victory yesterday. The Chicago Blackhawks have scored 14 goals in 3 games as they defeat the Detroit Red Wings, the dusty Detroit Red Wings yesterday to the tune of 5-1. And the Chicago Bulls look to get back to their winning ways as they've lost 2 games in a row. Hopefully they can beat Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs later tonight at the United Center. It's your boy Big Kev. We're going to talk about those things plus everything else Chicago sports related right after the intro. Good morning, Chicago sports fans. Welcome to another episode of Chi-Town Sports Central. It's your boy Big Kev holding it down for Chi-Town. Y'all already know what to do. Hit me up at Big Kev from the Chi Big Kev from DACHI, or you can follow me at Chicago White Sox Central or Chicago or a White Sox Central pod. So listen, man, we're gonna get right into it. The Chicago Bears, or AKA the Cardiac Bears, keep figuring out ways to win games. They are now 6-3 winners of 6 of their last 7 games, and some would argue that the Chicago Bears could be 8-1, and depending on how the the Green Bay Packers play tonight, we could be looking at a first place team. If the Green Bay Packers lose tonight, the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions would be tied for first place at 6-3, with Green Bay falling to 5-3-1. But listen, we can't really focus on things like that. You just got to play the games in front of you and win those games. And yesterday, it just did not look good. That boy Dylan Gabriel was out there killing the Chicago Bears, man. He was destroying us. Put up 199 yards passing in the first half. And then he turned around and had 66 rushing yards for 2 tutties before he got hurt. And when he got hurt, the New York Giants had to put in Russell Wilson, who is just no longer a good quarterback, bro. It's time for you to just go ahead and focus on Sierra and them kids, my guy, because he came in and was 3 for 7, 45 yards, no touchdowns, rushed twice for 12 yards. But prior to that, man, these guys were giving the Chicago Bears all they could handle. Darius Slayton had 4 receptions for 89 yards. Theo Johnson, the tight end, was killing, 7 receptions for 75 yards. Now, none of these guys had touchdowns. The Chicago Bears actually didn't give up any passing touchdowns. But again, it looked like they were going to lose this game because prior to the fourth quarter, Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears were having difficulty being on the same page. Caleb Williams had about, I think, 6 passes dropped by different receivers. Rome Odunze, Zacchaeus was out there just looking bad. Luther Burden actually was pretty solid. He caught 3 targets, three passes on his 3 targets. Colston Loveland as well, the rookies, 4 targets, 4 receptions. But Rome Odunze, 6 receptions on 10 targets, had at least 2 drops. DeAndre Swift had 8 targets. He had 5 receptions. He definitely had a drop. In OZ, he was just awful. A man had 4 targets, 1 reception, and definitely had drops himself. And DJ Moore, he got hurt, so he only had 4 targets, and none of those were receptions. He ended up getting hurt. In fact, it looks like he was questionable to return. Bears head coach Ben Johnson didn't really say much about it. He said it's unknown, but he'll do everything he can to play. And I will say this about DJ Moore: if he can play, he plays. He plays through any injury that I've seen him have so far this season. Johnson, he was asked about the severity of the shoulder injury that DJ Moore sustained yesterday. He said, "I think we have a bunch of selfless guys on offense right now that, like I said, they're going to do whatever they can to be out on the field for their buddies." So this man, DJ Moore, he's been dealing with everything. Shoulder injury right there yesterday, but he did have a groin injury as well. And he's been playing through all of it. So Shout out to DJ Moore. He went to the hospital after the Washington game. Like, this kid is a dog. Hopefully he gets well enough to be on the field versus um, the Minnesota Vikings next week, because we definitely need all hands on deck for that situation. These guys, the Minnesota Vikings, just lost again. They're now 4-5 in the division, so they're going to come hungry, ready to play. It's a road game, if I'm not mistaken, and these guys are gonna. It's gonna be a situation where the Bears have to be ready to play. Plain and simple, they got to be ready to play, because if not, Minnesota will they're going to be rabid. They're going to be foaming at the mouth, trying to get a victory to stay in this division race that's pretty muddled up. They're the only team in the division that's under 500, so they want to at least keep pace or try to get back on track in the division. But for a second, just for a second, let me take this moment to give Caleb Williams his flowers, because there's a lot of people that's still down on this kid. And honestly, you can still talk about accuracy issues. You can talk about, you know, whether or not he's, the quarterback of the future. What you cannot do with Caleb Williams is question this kid's toughness, because one, yesterday he should have been sacked at least 3 times. There were at least 3 plays in which I saw Caleb Williams was dead to rights. And let's be honest, the New York Giants have a defensive front seven that'll go out there and muddy things up for quarterbacks. Brian Burns had 11 sacks on the season coming into the game, and Caleb Williams evaded him 2 or 3 times yesterday, where it was like, how did he get out of that? How did he see this man coming from his peripheral? How did he have his hand? Like, there was one time where one of the defenders had their hand on his jersey, and he ducked underneath, spun out of the trouble, and still ran out and got positive yards. Also got 50 plus rushing yards yesterday. Ran the ball to like the 3 yard line, which led to his touchdown pass to Roma Dunze. Rushed in for the game-winning touchdown. All of these things in the fourth quarter where he just didn't have it going. He was 20 for 36 for 220 yards, a quarterback rating of 71.7. But what he didn't do was turn the ball over. He didn't fumble the ball. He didn't throw any interceptions. Shout out to the offensive line there. And he also, I mean, frankly, he carried the Bears to this win. He damn near led the team in rushing. He had 63 rushing yards yesterday on 7.9 yards per attempt. The Bears yesterday did everything, and that includes everybody. That includes Caleb Williams. It includes the receivers, with the exception of Loveland and Burden. And it includes the coaching staff, top to bottom. Ben Johnson was calling plays that were very questionable. Instead of running the ball against this team, that we still got 171 rushing yards, but the Bears could have easily had 200 plus rushing yards yesterday if they would have decided to commit to the run early. They didn't. It is what it is. Dennis Allen calling so many zone plays on defense and allowing Jackson Dart to pick the Bears apart. Hightower, the special teams has been an issue all season, and yesterday was no exception. Special teams has just been bad, whether it's Duvernay just sucking as a returner, or the return the unit not being able to tackle players and letting them rush to the 35 to 40, so on and so forth. It's just bad. And with all that being said, Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson, they figure out ways to win games that they're supposed to lose. It's happening in back-to-back weeks. Now, they weren't technically supposed to lose the Cincinnati game yesterday, but last week. But it is what it is. They went down at late, and they had less than a minute to get the job done, and they got it done. Now, I would like to see next week, especially versus Minnesota, I would like to see the Chicago Bears not wait to the second half to include Colston Loveland into the offensive scheme. Please, please. Oh, we're at home versus the Vikings, but no, we're on the road versus the Vikings. So, but can we please include our tight ends early instead of waiting until we're behind the 8 ball? Because, geez, yesterday, Colston Loveland didn't even have a target until the third quarter. No, neither did Cole Kmet. Kalmanunga had a career game last week and barely touched the ball yesterday. So Ben Johnson is a rookie head coach. He has a long way to go. So does this team. We're not a complete product, but we're in the thick of not just the playoff race in the NFC, but we can win our division. The Chicago Bears can win their division if they go out there and take care of business. And you can't have the type of games that you've had versus Cincinnati. You gave up however many yards to old Joe Flacco, and then yesterday the defense gave up another 400 plus yards to a bad New York Giants team. But they're better than their record. I think they've lost 5 games in which they were leading late in a game. So that's just how it is. We're on the other side of what the Giants are experiencing for the first time in a long time. The Bears are typically the team that would lose the games that they have won. So shout out to the Chicago Bears for getting a big victory in front of the home crowd yesterday where it looked like they were going to lose. If you guys have anything else to say about the Chicago Bears, head on over to Chicago Bears Central where Hayes is holding it down over there. C-Dub and Bobby taking care of the mailbags. And the entire gang, Steve-O, myself, Hayes, C-Dub, and Bobby for live calls every Sunday. We'll be calling the game live on Sunday versus the Minnesota Vikings. All right, man. Get well soon, DJ Moore. The Chicago Blackhawks, they have lost 3 games in a row, but now they're on a 3-game winning streak. And listen, it's crazy. Like they put up 14 goals in these last 3 games. They defeated the Vancouver Canucks 5-2. The Calgary Flames 4-0, and then they just took care of the dusty Detroit Red Wings 5-1. And Connor Bedard has frankly been at the helm of this. This guy has 3 goals in 3 games and a few assists. He had 2 assists yesterday and a goal yesterday. Um, Tyler Bertuzzi had a hat trick in the other game. He scored six goals in the last 3 games. Listen, these guys are not going away. They're sitting at third place in the Central Division, only 2 points behind the Dallas Stars, and only what, 6 points behind the Colorado Avalanche. So these guys are playing some really, really good hockey. They pucking, as I say, because you can't say they balling because that's football and basketball, or they hooping or whatever. They pucking right now, and it's all because of Connor Bedard, who's having a breakout season. He's the unquestioned star of this team. He has 9 goals, 16 assists, which is third in all of NHL, and 25 points total, which is tied for second in all of the NHL. I mean, come on. You got to start paying attention to this team. He's only 20 years old and he's figuring it out. The game is looking easier and easier as the season comes along. And you could be looking at a Chicago Blackhawks team that's on the verge of becoming a powerhouse, depending on how it looks with these draft picks that they picked up over the summer, and the rest of this team gelling, and their new head coach who's taking care of business, man. Like, this team is not the team that we've been watching the last 2 or 3 seasons, and I'm here for it. And now, as you know, we're still looking for a new host over here on Chicago Blackhawks Central. So hit us up. Let us know if you're interested. We take on the New Jersey Devils. They're a pretty good team, but Chicago Blackhawks are right there with them neck and neck. They both teams have over 50 goals scored on the season so far. So look for another high scoring output for the Chicago Blackhawks, and maybe they can continue this win streak and push it up to 4 as they get a couple of days off after that New Jersey Devils game to take on the Maple Leafs on Saturday. So, hey, good on these young guys, man. It feels good to be in Chicago watching the Bears be pretty decent, definitely watchable every week. The Blackhawks are winning games, and the Chicago Bulls are winning games. Now, they've lost 2 in a row. They're still sitting at 6-3, which is good for third in the Eastern Conference, and they take on a very difficult San Antonio Spurs team tonight in the Madhouse on Madison. Victor Wembanyama, man, we talked about him enough over on NBA Central for you guys to know that we love this kid. He's averaging 24, 13, and 4. That's 24 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 blocks a game. And he can do it all on the court. We already know he can hit the 3. We already know that he can take it to the basket, obviously, and dunk on your entire family tree. And we know that he's an excellent rim protector. Even with him only averaging 3.8 blocks per game, we know that he can get 7, 8, 9 blocks in a game. But what stands out to me with this San Antonio Spurs team and what the Chicago Bulls are going to be having to deal with tonight is that they are well rounded. If the Chicago Bulls are well rounded, because we know that they have 6 players, I believe, averaging double figures on the season, and then one right behind them with let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you got Jalen Smith averaging 9.9. So that's basically 7 players averaging figures, which is not bad, right? But the San Antonio Spurs have the Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, who just got back, and he's a walking bucket. We know he can score. Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Dylan Harper, rookie extraordinaire, Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, and Julian Champagne. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players averaging double figures, and then you got Sochan and Cornette right in the mix. They both average about 9 and 8 points respectfully. So like the Bulls are gonna have their hands full tonight. They shoot about 35% from three. So that's not league average, but that's still good enough. The San Antonio Spurs are not a good free throw shooting team, but they do get to the line about 30 times a game. So it's gonna be a tough game tonight, honestly. It's going to be a real tough game. Now the Chicago Bulls can force turnovers. Stephon Castle won't have the ball in his hands as much. Now that De'Aaron Fox is here, but he does average about 5 turnovers a game. So Chicago Bulls can definitely make uh, the San Antonio Spurs turn the ball over. But at the end of the day, it's going to all hands on deck. The Bulls are going to have to shoot well from three tonight because it's not going to be much work in the paint. And frankly, hopefully Josh Giddey is healthy and he'll play tonight because he got hurt. He got literally crossed out of his ankles against Blue. Man, like I hate the fact that happened to him, man. He got crossed over so bad that he got hurt, and that became a highlight for the world to see. But he's the unquestioned leader of this team right now with Kobe White being out, averaging 21 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 9.3 assists per game. And then Nikola Vucevic, man, like he had to go up against Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then he followed that up going up against Evan Mobley, and it just didn't. He hasn't looked good. In fact, the loss that the Bulls had to the Cleveland Cavaliers, because they should have won that game, but that loss was on Billy Donovan. Jalen Smith was having the best game of his Chicago Bulls career the other night, and Billy Donovan decided to put Nikola Vucevic in to close out the game, and Vucevic was just ass the entire game, ass. In the 2 losses versus the Milwaukee Bucks and then the Cleveland Cavaliers, Nikola Vucevic had 16 points and 6 rebounds in the Milwaukee game, just useless out there. And then he had 9 points and 5 rebounds versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. He shot 36% from the field. There's no reason why Nikola Vucevic should have been in that game on the court down the stretch when you had Jalen Smith playing as well as he was playing. In fact, he's been outplaying Vucevic in the last few games, honestly, but versus Cleveland specifically, in 19 minutes versus Cleveland, Jalen Smith had 18 points, 1 block, 4 assists, and 11 rebounds. Didn't miss a three-point shot, didn't miss a field goal. You do not bench a player who's playing that well. And I have to give Billy Donovan credit. He's been coaching pretty good basketball on the season. However, the game versus Cleveland is like he just went to his old ways. You sat down the hot hand. It's not like Jalen Smith was tired. He wasn't tugging on his jersey asking him to come out of the game. There was no reason for Nikola Vucevic to play 29 minutes in a game where he just did not have it going. He didn't have it going. Like I can understand if he's playing complimentary basketball with Jalen Smith, but he was awful. He was 4 for 11 from the field, 0 for 2 from three, a minus 23 on a plus minus. And he just didn't have the body language for you to just put him in the game and go out there to close out the game, which ends up being a loss. He wasn't grabbing rebounds. He wasn't affecting around the basket. He wasn't like a rim protector. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, Donovan Mitchell, which I cannot see him as a basketball player, was happy to see you sit down Jalen Smith and allow them to get back into the game and win that game. So Billy Donovan tonight, if you have a situation where you have a player that's hot, do not revert to your old ways and sit them on the bench, bro. Let them stay out there. And Vucevic, you should have told the coach, have some class and say, look, coach, I know you want to put me back out there, but Jalen's hot. He hasn't missed a shot. Keep him in the game. All right. So if you want to hear anything else about the Chicago Bulls, head on over to Chicago Bulls Central, where the Chicago Bulls are being discussed by Hayes. He's holding it down over there, as well as the Shy Bulls podcast with C Dub and Bobby, and of course, Locked On Bulls with Hayes and Pat, the designer. Man, we appreciate the love and support you guys have for all of our channels. We'll touch on the other three teams real quick before we get up out of here. The Chicago White Sox, I updated an episode the other day about their new hitting coach and pitching coaches. We'll get another episode out. We'll probably try to do an episode per week. Maybe we'll just start discussing possible free agents that can come in and help out the Chicago White Sox as they build toward their future. The Chicago Cubs are just in a situation where they got to figure out what to do with Nico Horner, what to do with Kyle Tucker, and so on and so forth. But maybe they try to bring Shota Imanaga back as well. And then with the Chicago Sky, Haley Van Lith is going to go play with Unrivaled this fall. So that should be pretty good for her as far as development is concerned, because the Chicago Sky are going to need her to take a step forward next season. And we know that she's a winner. She was a winner in college throughout her whole career. We know she could put the ball in the basket. She just got to figure out how to keep up with the speed of the game. But if you guys want to hear anything else about the Chicago Cubs, head on over to Chicago Cubs Central. Chicago White Sox, head to Chicago White Sox Central. And Chicago Sky, head on over to Chicago Sky Central, where C-Dub, Hayes, and Steve-O are holding it down on that channel. Big Mike's holding it down over on Chicago Cubs Central. I'm holding it down for the Chicago White Sox. And there you have it, man. Monday morning's episode. Let us know what you think about the content, how you feel about the Chicago Bears getting that crazy win. It seems like every week they figure out a way to make us watch every game to the last second. The Chicago Blackhawks are on a 3-game winning streak, looking to become better and get a good win in a couple of days versus the New Jersey Devils. And the Chicago Bulls looking to get back in the win column tonight versus a very good young San Antonio Spurs team. Hit us up in the comments. You can follow me at Big Kev from the Shy or White Sox Central Pod. And don't forget to type in your favorite Chicago team, put the word Central behind it, and you'll find one of us representing for the squad, as well as NBA Central, NFL Central, Shy Bulls Podcast, Fighting the Line Central. Y'all already know how we get down. Me and Dub are going to be doing another episode of Old Heads over on NBA Central tonight, so be on the lookout for that. It's your boy Big Kev holding it down for Chi-Town. We're going to get at you guys next time. Appreciate the love. Peace.